Alrighty, hello and welcome to today's webinar. This is the latest installment of our Analytics Innovators series, today featuring Voith. My name is Joshua Schlag, Digital Marketing Manager here at Pyramid Analytics. I'll be running us through some quick technical details as attendees are let in through the virtual doors, and then I'll pass things on to our VP of Customer Success, Richard Osborne, and our guest from Voith, Joe McGurk. So, with that said, just to set a few expectations, we are scheduled for half an hour today, 30 minutes. Richard and Joe will discuss a variety of topics, and then they'll leave some time at the end for Q&A. So with that said, please feel free to submit questions at any time through the Q&A console, and we'll get to those at the end. In case you need to drop off of this session, we are recording this webinar, and we'll send out a replay shortly after its conclusion. I believe that addresses all of those technical details. So without any further ado, I'll now pass things to Richard.
Okay, thanks, Josh, and welcome everybody. As I say, welcome to this Analytics Innovator series. In this series, what we look to do is sort of shine lights on organizations that are using analytics to drive excellence within their organizations. And when we describe excellence, it's those organizations which are sort of looking to improve business outcomes and create repeatable and sustainable value. And we're really pleased to be joined today by Joe McGurk from Voith to help for us to understand their journey on their analytics journey, if you like, some of the challenges they've faced along the way, how they've solved them, and share that experience with everyone on the seminar. So just as a way of introduction, Joe, what I'd probably be good to do, because I'm not sure everybody will understand who Voith are and what you do, it'd be great just to get a bit of a background on both yourself and Voith, and then we'll move into some of the discussion topics.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Voith is a German family-owned company. They've been family-owned for the last 150 years. The figures you can see there are obviously a few years old, but you get an idea of the size of the company. And in 5 markets, I work for one of those specific markets. There's hydro, turbo, and then paper machines. And I work in the paper division, specifically for fabric and roll systems, which is paper machine servicing and clothing and things like that. Now we have 25 or so manufacturing sites with another 15 more sales locations spread across about 20 countries in 5 continents: North and South America, Europe, Asia, and I've forgotten one. No, 4 continents in that case. Sorry. Oh dear. So yeah, that's the scale of ours. And I joined the company about 10 years ago, originally brought on to increase the usage of our existing BI analytics system, which was ProClarity at the time. I had a background in IT training, so that was the original idea. And shortly after I joined, Microsoft bought ProClarity and decided not to develop it any further. So I was tasked with the role of replacing it.
Excellent. So thanks, Joe. I guess as probably a bit of background just to help us understand sort of, I guess the scale of what you inherited when you joined 10 years ago. Just it'd be good to understand what sort of your sort of data and analytics infrastructure. You obviously mentioned the use of ProClarity, but I guess from a data perspective across all those different operations you've described, it'd be good to understand where your source data is sort of coming from, the type of data, and I guess which areas of those particular businesses you're supporting.
Yes, of course. When I joined, it was ProClarity was mainly used for sales. None of the other divisions really used it. And there are 2 areas of the business. We have fabric sites and roll sites, one servicing paper machines and one providing these conveyor belts and things, and they're very different. And it was only really the fabric sites that used it. We didn't have a central ERP system. There were some sites using JD Edwards, some using Navision, some using SAP, some just using Excel. We also have a kind of a customer management system as well, which is Global Vision, which is based on the Lotus Notes system. We actually still have that. So it was when I joined, there was a project also going on to get all of the sites onto the same ERP system, which was helpful. But we brought all of this data together in Microsoft SQL database. So the cubes were built within there. SSAS, I'm not very good with the technical language, I do apologize. So we had a basis of cubes. So one of the important things about replacing ProClarity was we had to be Microsoft Cube based for our next. I'm skipping on ahead.
That's fine. I mean, in terms of which areas of the business, though, that sort of data warehouse cube, I guess, analytic structure supports. You've mentioned sales. Is there other areas?
Yeah, we had some finance stuff in place because obviously that's fairly standard across all of the sites, whichever country it is. So there was some finance reporting in there. Not really a lot else at the time. We're just starting to build some more up, but it was, the source data was a problem because obviously it was very diverse across different systems.
Right. And then obviously, I guess, you've got your data structures. In terms of deployment, how do your business users sort of consume that data? Is it through desktop browser or?
Now in our current, it's all through browsers,
right.
Desktop browsers. We also have a problem with Asia, especially countries like Vietnam, Cambodia. These salespeople have a lot of problem getting decent Wi-Fi, so they like the mobile usage instead. So they tend to use their mobiles. That's particularly popular in Asia. Okay.
I guess obviously, as we've heard, you obviously inherited, sort of the data warehousing strategy, and you've moved on from, I guess, ProClarity as it was, and we'll come on to some of the choices you had to choose in a minute in terms of replacing that technology. I guess what it'd be good to understand is what, on that journey, what were some of the business challenges that you had to face in terms of, I guess, replacing what was ProClarity. Sorry, my mistake. I guess replacing ProClarity and I guess some of those, the decisions you had to make in terms of choosing a new replacement and what challenges that had to solve. It'd be good to understand some of that, I guess.
Well, we didn't have that many users really on ProClarity when I started, and at the point of having to swap over anyway, the majority of reporting was done on Excel.
Okay.
And you have the standard thing of users like what they know and they don't want to change to anything else.
Right.
And the BI system is always optional. Whereas if an ERP system, you can say, right, this is what we're using, they have to use it. Whereas BI, they can just revert back to Excel. So that was one of the challenges. And we also have limited resources to manage and develop whatever BI system we had.
Right.
And obviously it had to stay on Microsoft Cubes because that was already developed and ready to go. So to reduce the effort.
Yeah.
And it had to be easy and self-service. That was the main thing. Can users pick it up and use it without too much support and training because of the spread out nature of the business, the low level of, not low level, we're very high quality support, but there aren't many of us. So it was,
Okay. You were kind enough to, when we were discussing this session, you were kind enough to share some of the, your current screenshots. I guess this one you shared with us around sort of global operations. It'd be good to understand, I guess, lots of people describe some of the challenges, but from what we can see here, you're actually putting it into practice. How does this sort of is used within the organization?
This is one of our big successes, really, because this is a part of a dashboard, which is probably 25 to 30 slides of charts like this. And it's been agreed across the entire business in all of the different countries, continents, which started out having very different processes, practices, what they wanted to report. And this has been agreed and it's standardized across the whole lot. And a very important part of that was buy-in from management to say, this is what we're going to look at. This is where your figures have to be correct. Okay. So it's been very, very good. It's becoming more popular. There's still pushback, especially from China and Austria in particular, can be, I'm allowed to say things like that? A little bit set in their ways, maybe.
Okay. So how do you, I mean, is the business now driving most of the different organizations to use this now?
Yes, yeah. And it's also, once they get used to the fact that this data is actually accurate and it can help them, they get on board quite quickly. But
okay.
yeah.
And is this a sort of daily operation, or monthly or weekly, or how frequently are they sort of driving the business of these kind of dashboards?
Well, within each site, they'll probably look at this kind of thing a couple of times a week.
Right.
This particular dashboard is used every month in the regional sales and operations management meetings. So they're trying to get more communication between the sales teams and the operations teams to get everything delivered on time and that kind of thing.
Right.
So this is used to drive that and look at, potential future problems, current problems, that kind of thing.
Okay. So you've obviously shared with us sort of, I guess, one of your I guess what I'm hearing is one of your main challenges was just the whole deployment challenge, given the breadth of organizations, the different continents, countries. Can you share with us some of those sort of what I guess I would call deployment challenges and how you went about solving them?
Well, I tend to travel about to most of the sites, really, ends up being in the end, and training key users on those sites and anyone who wants to learn. So we tend to break it down into very basic dashboard use, few hours, and then sit with the more advanced users and help them build whatever they particularly want to build. Because even though we are trying to make a global standard, you'll still find that each site and each region wants different reports.
Right.
And then a new manager coming in will want different reports again. So it's a constant evolving situation, but we tend to try and train key users and then support them over Zoom and Skype when in the future.
All right. And you didn't consider training by Zoom then?
You just can't. Especially we find in the Asians, especially China, they will say, yes, I understand. Yes, I understand. And unless you actually make them do it and kind of sit with them, I mean, in our workforce anyway, they won't use it then.
Okay.
So you kind of have to help them through it, at least to start off with, because it's that optional thing again, that BI reporting is always a choice rather than.
And in terms of, and I guess this might come back to sort of your evaluation process in terms of which, you obviously, we're very fortunate you chose Pyramid, but obviously I'm assuming when you were looking at a replacement for Clarity, you were looking at other products. I guess one of the things you probably, I guess you looked at lots of different things. You mentioned about cube connections and things like that, but I guess were there considerations around deployment of software in terms of how easy it would be to deploy? I guess it'd be good to understand what kind of products you looked at and some of the criteria that you were considering in that.
Yeah, we did look at a very lot. Anything that basically could connect to Microsoft Cubes was considered at some point.
Right.
Deployment, not really too much of a worry because we already have the global infrastructure. Lots of programs are used over Citrix, for example, so that wasn't a main issue. The second thing was ease of use for users to pick up and use, and self-service. Those were the two next steps because of, as I mentioned, the diversity of people, what they want, where they are, and limited resources to support them.
Okay. I guess we sort of fast forward a bit and say, well, what do you what does today look like? I guess if you had to sort of say list out your top 3 business benefits that you probably derived from the use of your analytics solution, which is obviously Pyramid, is it easy to pick the 3 or is there more?
It's I'd say it's hard to explain, really. It's just across the whole business. I mean, everything now from finance, all of the financial reporting is done through Pyramid.
Right.
Because it's been agreed that is the agreed figures. Everyone's happy with them. So regardless of where they are, all of the reporting comes directly out of Pyramid and is directly fed in to the entire group management reporting system.
Right.
So the controllers they have one dashboard, they use that. We've now got inventory and debtors cubes, which we didn't have before, and they're starting to be used. Operations has been a massive improvement. I still obviously get questions about, oh, this looks wrong, but I'm getting more and more trust in the data and more buy-in from higher level management saying, right, I'm having this dashboard, this is my truth, and you have to fix things on there if you consider them to not be correct.
Right. Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, I guess you've obviously mentioned a couple of points around, self-service and mobile access. I'm just wondering whether there's any other points around that. I guess I'm going to second guess, from a deployment point of view, the ease of which you can deploy it was probably a...
Oh yeah, it's great. I mean, the users, we have a workflow, but that's more for the data access to cubes. They can just say, can I have access? And yes, you can have access. The management of the work group folders as well is very useful, because a lot of them are very worried that other regions or other sites will see their figures and like, well, they could just report on them themselves, but
yeah.
So they want to keep it just within them, and they want to be assured that only the people they choose can see these reports. So that's very good. They like that. Okay. It's just very, very easy to administer as well.
Right. So on that point, how many users have are you sort of supporting currently?
We have 618 licenses.
Right.
We probably have maybe 70 to 80 hardcore analytics users, which will create the content for people.
Right.
But of those 600 licenses, I'm constantly having to remove people who haven't used their license for 6 weeks because someone else wants it. So
right.
We have constant demand for them and for the access to the content that we have out there.
Right. Again, you were very kind to share with us some examples of your sort of, I guess, what you call your day-to-day use. So there's a few examples that I was going to just skip through, but I guess this first one, so I think you said product claims. What does this offer to the business, I guess?
This is a good one because, I mean, previously, before we put this together, they had absolutely no visibility of all of the claims that were out there. Not saying we have a lot of claims or anything, but who's responsible? The salespeople couldn't see which were theirs, and they had to ask other people to look for them and that kind of thing. And this just gives them an instant view of everything they wanted to see. Right. The guy in charge of quality for the across the group designed this and went, right, there you go, everybody, have a look at that. Right. And it saves lots of reports being run and all that kind of thing. And it's
okay. And then you provided some of these, which is sales performance. So I guess just different views of the business.
Yeah. So you've got the first one's a North American one, the one in the middle is a European one, and the one on the right is an Asian one. Just kind of an idea of the different regions want different things. They have the same figures. They just want to view them in different ways, and this lets them do that exactly how they want to.
And this is, I guess, is all self-service. They can just.
Well, yep. I think I created 2 of these. I created the middle and right one, and the region themselves created the left-hand one. But they do plenty themselves. They just sometimes need a bit of assistance.
Okay. And then this was an interesting one. You've got your classic finance and sales reporting, but I was quite interested to see this one, which seems to be around health and safety.
Yeah, this is a new, again, the health and safety and incident management on each site was just an Excel spreadsheet. So there's a current project happening to make a central database. And this is just to demonstrate what reporting we could do if we did have this central database, because the data in it currently is just test data.
Right.
So we just had to play around with what they report now, how we could do it without them having to type everything manually into Excel and so on. So
okay. I guess just this interesting view on the application of analytic technology for non-sort of standard reporting. So that's why I was quite interested in this one.
Yeah, we haven't really had 11 fatalities, in case anyone was worrying.
Okay. I guess the question, you've obviously been on quite a bit of a journey in terms of, when you first joined through, the development of the warehouse and the use and deployment of Pyramid to support your analytic requirements. I guess the question is sort of what's next, I guess.
It's a little bit up in the air. There is at the moment a requirement. The Voith Board of Management want to standardize everybody onto the same ERP system. Most of the other groups were on SAP or had nothing, so SAP was the chosen one.
Right.
There's discussions at the moment because, again, none of the other divisions really have a working BI system. Even the ones that already have SAP, they have very basic reporting. And so, yes, there are discussions about whether or not we will use SAP going forward. Obviously, I'd like to use Pyramid.
Right.
We'd like to use it across everywhere. We are trying.
Right.
It's up in the air.
Okay.
The more every week, month, we're getting more content onto here and more useful dashboards that just save people time across the business.
Right.
So hopefully that will be seen by the very top. And
right. So other than sort of potentially SAP and JD Edwards data, have you got other data sources that you may be looking to connect into?
Yeah, I mean, because of the lack of data that we can get from SAP, we get some from SAP, and then, for example, the volume for each order has to be input, and they can upload that to a SharePoint site and a spreadsheet, and that's brought in and included in the figures, which they've never had that before.
Right.
So that's really useful. I've recently started using Salesforce and are considering connecting that up to it.
Right.
But at the moment, we have the this GV system, which is our FRS, customer relations management system, and that connects with Pyramid.
Okay.
Our JDE data is refreshed every 4 hours.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's really up to date information.
Okay.
And they want it more regularly, but it's just the time of the various extracts and processing the cube. It's just not possible.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So I guess thanks for that, Joe. As always, I always find these sessions really interesting just to understand how customers, the journey they've been on in terms of analytics and how they're, in our case, using our product to, deliver sort of, I guess, analytics excellence to their end users. I guess at this stage, probably going to open it up to, just going to check if we've got any questions coming in. Let me just check. We look like we've got one here. There's a question here. Has Pyramid improved? Sort of, I guess, is saying. Oh, has Pyramid improved data literacy among users? Have they become, I guess, more analytics savvy? Is the question.
Absolutely. It's driven the other way as well, because we've had information coming in. So for instance, we've recently put an approved product list in. So the product managers had a lot more control over what products were being sold by the sites, and they could see exactly how they were made and what they were, rather than everyone having a different name for the same thing. So that's because, that came about from their analysis within Pyramid and seeing that these sites were making basically the same product but calling it all different things. So that's fed back into the business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking. There's another question just about, I guess, what's he say? How has Pyramid helped in terms of data quality and validating the data that's being, I guess, coming from yours, ERP systems?
It's an ongoing battle of people saying, oh, but that's not right in Pyramid. And 99% of the time you'll find that you say to them, no, it's here. This is where it is in your ERP system. That's what figure you put in there.
Right.
Or they'll send an Excel spreadsheet and go, oh, this is what my Excel says. And you go, I don't really care about that. If you look in your ERP system where the actual data is, that's what it says, that matches. It's getting better, but I don't think it's ever going to be 100%. People will always say, oh no, but we don't include that in that calculation, or we don't include those, we don't include this. Like, well, your managers want to, according to them, that's what it says, that's your figures.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm just looking at the question list. I think that's all we have. So just takes me to say thank you, Joe, for your time. As always, with these sessions, as they always find them very insightful, and this is no change here. So as I said, just leaves me to thank you for your time. I hope everybody on this session has found this session useful. I certainly have, in terms of the insight, in terms of the journey that you've been on. So yeah, thank you once again, Jo.
Thank you.
Alrighty, thanks, Richard and Jo, both of you. So I think that's a bit all for today. Just a reminder that we will send a replay of this event out a little bit later today. So please feel free to share that with colleagues if you think they might find this session interesting. In the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. You can reply to that replay email that we send out, and we'll make sure it gets to the right person. Or you can send a message directly through the Contact Us page on our website. As Richard said, we do hope that this has been a beneficial use of your time as you seek out solutions for data and analytics. Thank you once again to Voith. We love seeing how our platform makes a difference in the lives of our customers, and we in turn love sharing that with all of you. Thanks once again for attending or watching this on demand, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.